Welcome to Rotterdam, the maritime capital of Europe. I'm told that this is the place to be to test, develop, and implement maritime innovations. One of those innovations that the Rotterdam region is working on is autonomous shipping. Autonomous shipping is a result of the ongoing digitalization of the maritime world. Once the first autonomous vehicle hit the road, maritime experts wondered how this technology could contribute to more sustainable, efficient, and safe shipping. Let's see how Rotterdam responds to this. Let's discover Rotterdam as a maritime hotspot. I'm at the Technical University of Delft to talk to Professor Rudy Negenborn, and I'm going to ask him about his vision on the future of autonomous shipping. Rudy, let's start with the first question. What is the status right now of autonomous shipping?
Well, the status of autonomous shipping is going really well. In the Rotterdam region, there are a lot of developments. You could say that the ecosystem of knowledge institutes, ports, industry in the port area, and maritime businesses is really growing. As we speak, actually, we are doing small-scale pilots with autonomous ships to try out the latest insights in technology. And in discussions with industry, we're thinking about, okay, how can we make small steps towards implementation?
Well, there's, I think, a lot of questions about autonomous shipping because it's new. To start with, what are the advantages of it?
Well, there are numerous foreseen advantages. Let's start with, for example, moving freight from roads to waterways. In large areas such as the Rotterdam area, there's a lot of congestion. And wouldn't it be great if we can better benefit from the capacity over water to relieve some of the congestion? Not only on the highways, but also in inner cities, for example. There are also foreseen advantages related to sustainability. There are new propulsion technologies, new fuel cell technologies, new types of batteries, wind power. How to manage this power on board of ships. That's really complicated tasks that humans cannot do. And more advanced or autonomous decision-making on board of ships can contribute to increasing the sustainability.
So there's a technical, social benefit from autonomous shipping. Any other benefits?
We also expect that on the social side, this can lead to new applications for urban mobility, like in cities like Amsterdam, for example. It can lead to improved efficiency around locks and gates. If you're thinking about inland waterways, where now there are quite some waiting times. And also the alignment between ships and, for example, container terminal operators can be increased. So we're not only talking about smart shipping and autonomous ships, but also linking this to smart logistics, the integration in the complete transport system.
So basically what we are aiming for is the highest level of efficiency then, on every level.
That is for sure what we are aiming for at Delft University of Technology. Okay. And if this in the end can make it into practice, that also depends a lot on the discussions that we are involved in with policymakers, with industry, with society at large.
You just mentioned inland shipping. Is there a difference between sea shipping and inland shipping if you talk about autonomous vehicles?
Yeah, for sure. If you look at the open oceans, you can imagine that's a quite wide area, large ships. You could say, well, isn't that easy then to move around autonomously? But that's not true, because also the conditions can be much harsher. There can be much larger storms and winds and waves that are affecting the operation on board of ships. Also, ships on the oceans, they sail for a much longer time. How to do maintenance on an autonomous ship in an autonomous way if there is a lower crew on board? This is really a complicating challenge. Now, if you look on the inland waterways, that's much more narrow rivers. In port areas, there are a lot of small canals that are connecting to each other. There's more traffic. You need to take into account other waterway users. Now, how to do this, how to realize the communication between ship and other ship, between ship and infrastructure, and perhaps also ship and organization or humans, these are slightly different challenges.
It's funny that you mentioned both because the conditions on open sea are much different than inland, but inland gives an advantage if you want to reach the ship for maintenance or whatever you need it for.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying it is a sector that is very much evolving all the time. Is it evolving quick? How do you see the future, near future or far future?
Well, if I look at the developments over, let's say, the last 20 years, about 20 years ago, artificial intelligence and autonomy were much studied in an academic setting. And what you see over the last, well, maybe 10 years, first the introduction of autonomy for cars. Everybody has heard about the autonomous cars that are starting to be introduced. And the last 6-7 years, this is also starting to be moved to the water side. We want to know what can autonomy bring on the water side and what ground challenges can it help to relieve. And what we do here in the lab, which I think is really exciting, is we put a lot of ships together, we implement them with local autonomy, and we see what's going to happen. How should we design the interaction between the autonomous ships, the ship that's autonomous, the non-autonomous? How can we include the regulations of the waterway in an electronic form such that they respect rules if necessary? So in this setting here, we have kind of created a safe setting also for doing unsafe or quite challenging experiments. And I think that's really a nice feature of a lab like this.
So you have a lab here where you can test everything that can go wrong on the ship, where you have a mixture of autonomous and non-autonomous ships.
That's right. In the research lab, we have on the one hand researchers that are inspired by the challenges from society and industry. They write down the formulas. They think conceptually, how could we address that? Then we work on detailed simulation models to see, okay, could this work? And then we move it bit by bit to the lab setting, where we can do experiments with different types of waves, different types of failures as well, to see how that could work out. And then together with discussions with the Port of Rotterdam Authority, with the maritime shipbuilding industry, we teach them, we learn them what the points of attention are.
I can imagine that people who are used to anticipating in a non-autonomous traffic on land or on the road, they have to get used to autonomous ships. You also look at that point?
Yeah, of course. We take them along in the research. And this is also it's not a development from today, tomorrow, that everything will be autonomous. Look at the way in which we are driving our cars. If you look at the number of electronics that's in them, if you compare it with 20 years ago, yeah, people have quite different expectations of what to expect from a car. Also, we have a lot of students here in marine technology and in transport infrastructure and logistics, and during their program they learn about these new types of technologies. They learn about what the pitfalls are, but also the possible advantages. And by the time that they go into the industrial field, they bring in these ideas and they put it on the table when there are challenges that need to be addressed. So this is a gradual process that kind of involves the different parties along the way.
It sounds like a very complex situation where you have to take into account many different aspects of it. How fast do you think it will go before autonomous ships are common?
The technological developments are going quite rapid the last years, I would say. There's a lot of attention for artificial intelligence, investments from the region, from the governments, researchers that can start working on that. We're doing tests, scaling them up to see what's happening. But it's not only about the technical aspects. So we also need to think about the business economical aspects. We also need to think about perhaps psychological aspects. We need to think, do we want an onshore control station that is completely monitoring what's happening, or do we want to have all autonomy on board of the ship and the onshore control station does not really have a role? So for this we are also working with other knowledge institutes in the area, like the Erasmus University in Rotterdam, Leiden University, to kind of find the complementary areas of expertise that are necessary to get to full realization. And yeah, how fast this goes, only time will tell. I stopped putting a specific year on that.
If you look at the Netherlands, how far ahead are they in autonomous shipping if you look at other countries?
I think in the Netherlands, what is quite special is the bringing together of these different types of institutes. So knowledge institutes, industry, government, they're all brought together. We have now also the Dutch AI Coalition, which really has as a focus theme also autonomous and smart shipping. So there's a lot of incentive to develop this further. At the Delft University of Technology, we have autonomous shipping in different Master of Science programs. And we also have a kind of entrepreneurial spirit that challenges the students to bring new ideas into, for example, small startups. So there's a very lively ecosystem of different people that have ideas that are trying to develop them to make this go steps further. And I think that that's a quite unique feature of the Dutch autonomous shipping environment.
It's interesting. So what I hear is that the Dutch autonomous shipping community is one that does a lot of connection between different levels of expertise to bring them together, go in the same direction. You say TU Delft has it in its curriculum, in its portfolio, but the students are also invited to think ahead, to think for the future. Any other fields that TU Delft is contributing to?
TU Delft is a very large university, about 16,000 students that are spread over a number of faculties. We look at mechanical and maritime engineering technology aspects, really focusing on the ship itself and the interactions and technology on board of ships. We also work on the infrastructure side, the civil engineering aspects. Should you update waterway infrastructure to be ready for autonomy? There are also technology, policy and management kind of sides to this. How should organizations, should they choose for investing in an autonomous ship, or do they prefer to keep the way of operation as it has been for many years? So TU Delft is active in these different areas, not in isolation, but also in European projects, where there are partner universities in surrounding countries across Europe. That work on Horizon Europe, large proposals aimed at increasing the inland waterway transport or improving its performance with universities and societal partners.
It's good to hear that the students here are not only busy with their own field of expertise, but are invited to connect the different areas that are involved in autonomous shipping. So they have a broad field of the whole complex situation.
Absolutely. So it depends a bit on the interests of the student. You have students that are more interested in getting this broad overview for solving the complex multidisciplinary challenges. But at the same time, there's also the possibility for really specializing, for example, only on maritime technology or only on multi-machine system interactions. We also see this, of course, that after the bachelor and the master program, a number of students decide to proceed with PhD projects that really specialize in a certain type of autonomous shipping technology.
Autonomous shipping is a very new explorative field. What is the role of the Port of Rotterdam in autonomous shipping?
Well, we have multiple roles. We have the role as a port authority and we have the role as a company. From the role of the port authority perspective, we can contribute to autonomous shipping with, for example, data sets we have. So, for example, our traffic information we use for safe traffic on VTS, Vessel Traffic Service. We can also use that for autonomous shipping. So, and then that way we can solve one of the main problems. And that's, maneuvering with autonomous ships within high density areas like Port of Rotterdam.
But that sounds great. So that's existing technology that is being used for autonomous shipping.
Yeah, it's existing technology combined with new technology and combined with new information sets. So what we started to do is to create a kind of vision of the impact of autonomous shipping on the Port of Rotterdam. We created a vision on three elements. We have digital situation awareness, where a digital object needs to see its surroundings. The next is interacting objects. So we have objects communicating with each other, but also interacting with other objects. And the third is, decision support tools. So as the object, the autonomous ship, should take a decision. But the nice thing is how does that interact with humans? So the human element of knowing what an object is going to do is very important. So that's the three pillars we are building up our system on autonomous shipping in Rotterdam.
I reckon that is something that everybody has to get used to take into account that there's also autonomous ships in the area and how they react. How does the community react to that?
Well, that's an interesting thing. We do not have them commonly sailing around yet, but it is already in mind that the first ships and the first tests already are sailing kind of autonomous, and the use of autopilot is, for example, are done for many years.
Yeah.
And we have to recognize that it will not be that every ship will not be autonomous in the future. For example, big cargo ships or with high, with fuels, or that will not be autonomous quite soon. But it will be a mixed zone in the future. So we will have in the beginning from smaller autonomous vessels crawling through the port area, with the big inland vessels or the big seagoing vessels with normal humans on board. But the important would be that we know from each other what our intentions are. That's what we try to do with digitalization of information, but also with autonomous shipping.
So you have to take into account all the different users, autonomous or not autonomous. But you, as the Port of Rotterdam, or maybe you as Harmen, are you wary? Are you excited? Are you welcoming the autonomous shipping?
No, I'm excited. And autonomous shipping is not the goal. It's a tool.
It's one of the tools.
It's one of the tools. And the beautiful thing is that, that tool is all about digitalization. And I'm not a digital guy, but I love digitalization because it can help you in your process. So it can also have normal ships in processes. So we learn from that high-end goal of autonomous shipping. For example, for simple things we can do right now. That's what we're doing. So we are learning from the goal and learning not only for that goal, but also for lots of other opportunities and services.
And I know you have one collaboration, for instance, with Technical University in Delft. Do you have more collaborations on autonomous shipping?
Yeah. We have the three vision pillars, but how do you create then that new world? We have two ways. One, we're doing proof of concepts, so just like with the RPH3, our floating lab. But the other thing is that we build collaborations. So we have collaborations with educational partners like TU Delft, but also the Rotterdam High School and other universities, but also internationally, with Singapore together in a Massport network. So we are trying to build a community of, mass excited port authorities or countries or universities to share those insights we gain, and to gain insights from them. So we don't have to do the same thing, and we learn from each other.
And everybody benefits.
Yeah.
Good to hear, and also very exciting to hear. Can't wait for the first autonomous ship to sail over here.
It will be soon.
The fact that Rotterdam is a frontrunner in autonomous shipping is also evident from the many projects in the region. From inland shipping to offshore and nearshore, autonomous shipping plays a major role. The 135-meter-long barge Facto 4 that sails the inland waterways of the Netherlands autonomously, thanks to the system of shipping technology. There's also the autonomous inspection vessel that is currently being developed by Demcon, unmanned systems for maritime contractor Van Oort. What to think of IT company Captain AI, which develops software to realize a safe and fully autonomous shipping solution using simulation sensors and deep learning techniques. And now we are standing next to the Rotor Tug, the first vessel that does not only sail autonomously, but also sails the most optimal route. Okay, Patrick, great to be on this boat. Can you tell me what's so unique about this innovation?
You mean about the Optiport innovation, right?
Yes.
Well, Optiport is the first tool like this in the world. And basically what we have done with Optiport is that we brought our towage knowledge, the Kotec towage knowledge, and the specialized IT knowledge together. And we developed an application that can do fully autonomous scheduling of ships in ports, but also on rivers and at sea as well. So it's a unique application. It's the first in the world basically that can do that by using machine learning and artificial intelligence tools.
Sounds very promising.
It is.
We have these autonomous vessels, autonomous ships on the water, inland and on sea. How does Optiport bring added value where there are autonomous ships but also not autonomous ships?
Well, first of all, the good thing is with Optiport, and not many people realize that, but where is an autonomous ship sailing autonomously to? Right? So something needs to tell an autonomous ship where to go to. That's basically what we can do with Optiport. So with Optiport, we tell at what speed a certain ship needs to leave to be on time at its destination. And therefore it's actually the missing link when it comes to autonomous sailing. If you then link that with remote sailing, so you can do part autonomously and part remotely. So, and that is actually something that we're also doing with Kotuk. We're working hard on those innovations as well. Is that, for instance, here on a tug, in a harbor operation, when it becomes really exciting, basically we make it a remote operation. So the captain in the office logs in to the ship, does the job or does the work that he needs to do. He logs out and the ship autonomously sails to its next destination. Which is something, for instance, you can also do on inland shipping, ferries, at sea as well. When there's long, boring pieces of mobilization, we do autonomously, and if there is action, we do it remotely.
So it's in between, it's a hybrid form where there is some human interaction or some human action, but also some autonomous sailing.
Yeah, that is what Optiport actually can support in. So really about that autonomous part. So at what speed does it need to sail and which vessel needs to sail to what destination? Because what we see is in the traditional operation, there's a lot of inefficiencies if that is done manually. But if it's done automatically by an Optiport application, it can be done much more efficient, and therefore you can save a lot of fuel, you can actually save a lot of carbon emissions, and there's much less stress for your crew and your dispatchers as well if you do it that way.
So you're already experiencing the benefits of autonomous sailing.
What we're doing is we're at the forefront of autonomous sailing indeed. So our application can be used as input for autonomous sailing. And actually with this ship, we actually have been sailing autonomously as well by using Optiport to determine the route it needs to sail. And then with some software, we can make sure that actually the ship stays on that route and that it sails the most efficient route at the most efficient speed. One of the key building blocks for autonomous sailing, yes.
Well, then I have to ask, because this is a field that is full in development. You are also there in the forefront. Were there any bumps on the way?
Yeah, of course, there's many bumps. There's many bumps on the way, and especially with an application like Optiport, where you tap in a very traditional way of working, change management becomes really important. So you really have to take the people that are currently doing the jobs, the people on board, but also the people in the office. You have to take them by the hand and explain that this application is actually helping them, and it's not a threat, it's not a concern, but it's making their life easier, and they become also more in control of the operation.
And how is it going, the change management?
Well, it's not always easy, and actually we're selling Optiport around the world, and in some locations it's more easy than in others. So it's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication from the team, our team, and also the team of our customers. And it's an up and down ride basically. It's not easy, but in the end we will get there.
You're excited for the future, I can imagine.
Yeah.
The future, will it be a hybrid form of autonomous and manually driven vessels?
Yeah, we think so, especially for workboats like this that are actually supporting and assisting ships and making safe passages possible. We definitely think it's a hybrid form. So there will be manual intervention needed, but in the end, and also the business cases need to be right for that. Some vessels you will see fully autonomously, and other vessels they will still be or hybrid or still be conventional.
So Patrick, what does it mean for Kotuk to develop such an advanced IT solution?
Well, it requires a lot of perseverance, vision, But that is not something that is unusual for us as Kotuk, because we have always been at the forefront of developments, especially in towage and in the maritime world. So the tug that you've just been on, the RT Borkum, is a rotor tug, which is one of our patents, and it's sailing around the world everywhere. So we're used to innovations and developing new things, but with this IT solution, we decided to team up with a well-known IT company from Rotterdam, and jointly we developed this application. So basically, the beauty is we have the towage and the port knowledge, they have the IT knowledge, and together we developed this application. So yeah, it requires a lot of teamwork and also getting some knowledge from outside into the organization, partnering with other companies. But yeah, as I said, that's something we're used to, and that's something that we have always been successful in. As
So you're
Kotuk
very
is-
used to combining expertise to go forward.
Yeah. So we've been doing that from the past, and we have always also been very open with that and share that with the market, because we actually believe that we can make the industry safer and more efficient. And in order to do so, you shouldn't keep everything for yourself or develop everything in-house, but also do a lot of developments together with other parties. So
It's like an open platform almost, shareware.
no, yeah, correct. Of course, we want to make a business out of it, so we don't just give away everything. But the good thing is, I think, is that we don't keep it for ourselves, and we want to make a business out of it. But at the same time, we also believe that the struggles we're having in our operations, other people will also have. So other people will also benefit from the solutions that we develop.
Yeah.
And that's something we've always been doing.
So you're ready to move forward with this whole platform. But what are your ambitions in autonomous shipping, locally or internationally?
Well, definitely internationally, because that is there's a big world out there that we want to conquer. But locally, we see now a lot of application in harbors and in ports, but also inland shipping, because we have also established our own inland department. And with that, we have developed the tug, or basically the pusher tug, the inland pusher tug, and we can combine that with the software. And then we can also do autonomous sailing with our inland ships. And so we see a lot of application in port operations, in inland operations, and not only here in the Netherlands, but also in other parts of the world.
So how do other people look at the Netherlands, and in particular at the port of Rotterdam? Are we the front runners globally?
Well, I think we do. A lot of people say, and because we travel a lot around the world, we visit a lot of ports, and everybody's saying, well, if it works in Rotterdam, it should work here as well.
It's
Rotterdam,
nice that you start smiling with some proud feeling
Yeah,
when
no,
you talk about it.
No, absolutely, and especially when you say that you are from the Netherlands, that we in the Netherlands we're also used to working together with other companies. So, and the entrepreneurial spirit. But really, if it works in Rotterdam, it also works in other ports, and I think that's true. Rotterdam is a very complex port, a very complex operation. We've managed to successfully schedule for different operators in Rotterdam their operation as well. If we can do it here, we can do it. We can do it in other ports, and it's this is our home base, so we can also try out a lot of things here. We have the knowledge here, the network here, and we can very fast bring people together and set up a project team and implement what we have designed or developed, tested, like we do on the Borkum.
So those are all elements that actually make Rotterdam the perfect place to test these innovations.
Yeah, for us it is. For us it is because of the heritage that we have, because of the connections we have, the network, but also because there are so many companies out here who are working on innovations, but also the research institutes, the universities. We work a lot with universities, with students. Actually, we have now, I believe, 4 interns who either do their thesis over here or spend some time to get used to working in a maritime organization. So we work a lot with the knowledge institutes, but also with the well-known other maritime companies here in the region.
So overall, it's a very interesting field to work in and to be involved in. Are you excited for the future of autonomous vessels?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot. We're just at the beginning, and I spoke about resistance, change management. It will take a lot of change management before it finally becomes reality. But I think, looking at all the developments around the world, also with the focus on cleaner shipping and more efficient operations, and also scarcity of the right resources, I think we have to really speed up with the whole autonomous development. And luckily, we're at the forefront at Coatec, and we have a lot of the building blocks to make it actually work. So yeah, it's really exciting. There's a lot of bright future out there.
There we go. Autonomous shipping steadily moving forward. Rotterdam is the place to be for maritime technology. Do you want to know more about autonomous shipping and what Rotterdam has to offer? Then join Rotterdam, the maritime capital of Europe.